Soy Boy takes the red pill, changes mind, and takes the blue pill instead. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today, on the CNN YouTube page. So, Cain Caleb is someone who claims that YouTube pushed him towards radical views. However, I believe he's a con man, I believe he's a liar, I believe he's milking the left for fame, for money, and for virtue. I think he was always a left-winger and remains a left-winger. I think he had a chance to be red-pilled, but unlike Neo, like Neo was given a choice. You can take the blue pill or the red pill. This guy chose the blue pill. Now, here you can see. Former alternative right follower calls radicalization a health crisis. So we're going to watch this interview and analyze it. And trust me, folks, it's a rage fest.
How does a liberal young man become a follower of the alt-right? You're about to meet a man who says he was radicalized by alt-right figures via their persuasive YouTube videos. He believed their extremist conspiracies for years, but then he somehow de-radicalized himself, and he's now working to help others get out. Joining us now is Caleb Cain. Caleb, thank you so much for being here to tell your personal story. I think it is so fascinating. So just to bring people up to speed, somewhere around, as I understand it, 2015, you were sort of at loose ends. You had dropped out of college. You were looking for direction. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, at the time you would describe yourself as liberal. And somehow online, you found your way to these alt-right videos and websites, and then describe what happened.
So you can already see they've set up a simple narrative. YouTube is to blame. YouTube is allowing people to view videos. That's a crime. And choose what they want to watch, to encounter new ideas, new ideals, and possibly learn and change and grow as a person. That's the opposite of what they want. And maybe not be an NPC and wake up and see the truth. But no, YouTube has to be censored. That's where this leads. I don't even need, it's so obvious.
Yes, thank you for having me on. Basically, I was depressed during that period of time and looking for an outlet for that depression. And I turned to YouTube, and I found a man by the name of Stefan Molyneux. And his content really helped me in a lot of ways. But what I didn't realize was I was being given a political philosophy. And over time, my political ideas started to change quite drastically.
Yes, this is red pilling. It's called the red pilling process. It's what happens when you encounter the truth. But, Molly meme, really?
Which was pretty clear to anybody in my life at the time. And really, it just took me into a place where I became further isolated from social groups and just started to ostracize a lot of people in my life very unfairly.
Let's talk.
Because you realized they were blue-pilled, they were monsters, their beliefs didn't add up, they were illogical, irrational, doublethink. You were waking up. You were literally waking up. But you're such an NPC, you're such a follower, you're such a weakling that you couldn't do it. You have to believe what the mainstream media tells you. The fact that you're appearing on CNN, the fake news network, the liars, the radicalizers, as you say, they're the ones who actually push fake news. They're the ones who actually push for left-wing radicalization. And if you actually really think about it, he was never radicalized to the right? He was radicalized to the left. Now he's a progressive. Isn't it funny how that works? Isn't it funny how the exact thing they claim turns out to be false and the truth is literally the opposite? Yeah, that's the left in a nutshell.
Talk about some of the things that you came to believe because of these videos. You came to believe, again, jump in if this is wrong, that other races were inferior to whites.
It varies.
Women, I think, or at least feminists were overly aggressive, and women, I think, were inferior to men.
By what metric? Women are definitely inferior to men when it comes to physical strength, right? Men are stronger than women. Women are weaker than men. Maybe a tall, buff woman could be as strong as an average man who doesn't work out. But this is well known. It's well documented. Men and women have different strengths and weaknesses. For example, women get an average IQ boost. The average woman is smarter than the average man. However, there is more smart men than there are smart women because there's more men at the high end of the IQ spectrum overall than there are women. So there you go. There's a buff and there's a debuff. There's a pro and there's a con. There's a strength and a weakness. Men are better at spatial. They're better at visualizing. They're better with anything related to spatial, which is kind of a lot. Women are weaker in that, but you know what they're good at? You know what they're better than us at? Reading faces, seeing emotions, reading people's body language. Really powerful skill, and women are better at it. So by what metric? What metric are we talking here? Because men and women are both inferior to each other in several ways. And then you could make the argument that a lot of women vote left. A lot of women vote for social welfare and social policies that drag down society. You could argue that women contribute far less in tax than men. And you could say, well, that's bad. It depends on what we're talking about here.
You believed that, I guess, Muslims were trying to take over Western civilization, or immigrants were. And
well, I mean, if you take a look at this picture and if you read it, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm sure that this narrative is completely wrong. I mean, it can't be true, right? Close your eyes, folks. Nothing to see here.
How do you explain how you came to absorb those extreme views so much?
Well, it was mostly due to the people that I was listening to. The people that I was listening to were selling me a narrative that, cultural Marxists and, immigrants and Muslims and basically liberals were trying to destroy Western civilization.
That's because they are, you little numbskull. What is wrong with your face anyway? Why is it so distorted? Right, so according to this kid, liberals don't want to destroy the West. Islam doesn't want to destroy anyone. Let's take a look at something. It's time for Sweden to admit explosions are a national emergency. I like how they say explosions, but don't name the ones making the explosions. So Sweden, which is well known for its refugee program and its immigration programs, have been mass importing refugees from Islamic countries over and over. And now the country has so many explosions, it's basically a national emergency. Right. That's a crazy narrative by those wacky right-wingers. They don't know what they're talking about. Just ignore, close your eyes, ignore the image.
And install some sort of socialist regime. And it's the...
How will you win a general election labeling yourself a democratic socialist?
I mean, they kind of do.
Type of rhetoric you hear from a lot of these people online the whole way across the political spectrum. And really what it boils down to is it's digital hate politics.
Digital hate politics. Digital hate. Oh my God. I can't believe my son downloaded digital hate. He should download digital love instead. Dumbest thing I ever heard.
Leads people to radicalization.
You got any citations for that?
And, for me, in my opinion, radicalization, it's a public health crisis. And
he's right. It is a public health crisis. I really agree that we need to address the fact that the left-wingers are brainwashing thousands of Zoomers all across the world and millennials.
Really need to fix this public health crisis through education, through fixing people's communities, and through providing mental health support I didn't have growing up, and is what led me down this path.
And I'm going to get to exactly how you pulled yourself out in 1 second, but also when you say it's a public health crisis, obviously we've seen hate crimes spike in the...
Yes, hate crimes are spiking, and yet somehow the vast majority of interracial violence is not white on black, but black on white. According to FBI statistics, hate crimes are indeed increasing. Just think about all the milkshaking.
Past years. We've also seen the rise of neo-Nazism. We've seen more violence.
No, you haven't, you liar. Seriously, I'm so tired of this WW2 rhetoric. It's a minority. Those people barely exist. No one cares. All the people you're calling an extremist aren't extremists. Lying through your teeth.
Were you ever tempted? Did you feel you were veering in that direction towards violence?
You mean like Antifa?
I don't know if I was ever veering towards violence. I never felt that way. But From what I see, the people that turn to violence are people that feel at the end of their line. They feel that their back is completely against the wall. And these were the people that we saw in the New Zealand shooting and in the Poway shooting. And
Okay, so what about all the Antifa attacks? It's the same narrative.
these people were deeply ingrained within social groups online. And I think that giving
Look at this lizard woman. I'm gonna have to replay that section of the clip somehow. Look at her shaking her head. I've got to show the viewers that I agree and that what he's saying is atrocious. So I'm gonna shake my head. Yeah, that way the viewers will know that what he's saying is bad.
people relieving those anxieties that people have, those systemic anxieties that they have through, their economic situations or their personal lives, it's fixing those situations that's going to keep us from seeing more violence.
By the
He's almost right. Again, he's blue-pilled. Yes, there'd be a lot less bad things in society if we fixed society. So let's fix society. Here's the problem. Left-wingers can't fix anything. They destroy. They're parasitic. Left-wing ideals end in collapse. Left-wing economics ends in poverty. Just look at New York. Look at California. Look no further than California. It's falling apart. It's in massive debt. People are overtaxed. People are running away because democratic policies ruin the state. And they're fleeing to, oh, you guessed it, right-wing states that have a good economy because they have common sense policies. The left is not the solution. It is the problem.
way, we also need to talk about the role that YouTube plays. They directed you to more and more extreme videos. Once you found
Yes, blame YouTube for directing them to extreme videos. You don't have free will. The government and YouTube should decide what you can see and hear. Only safe content for you, my friends. You can easily be directed to anything on YouTube that includes the far left. Did somebody say ContraPoints?
one, and YouTube could tell through its algorithms that you liked it, that you were watching it, that you were engaged. They directed you to more and more extreme videos, and they need to take some responsibility for that as well.
You know, they say you shouldn't hit women, but I yearn for true gender equality. I dream of a world where women are equal to men. Now, of course, I would never hit a lady. Pimp slap it is.
I think what YouTube needs to do is they need to have very clear terms of service on their websites of what's acceptable and what isn't.
Agreed.
I am a free speech advocate, but
No, you're not. You are not, because you're calling for censorship. You're working with these left-wing rags like the New York Times and CNN who are trying to shut down YouTube and censor people like me.
on the platform was people taking advantage of this algorithm. And the algorithm does not care about what your politics are. It cares about watch time and keeping you on platform. The AI
Yeah, it's not neutral. Left-wing content gets promoted. Right-wing content does not.
that they use for this is called reinforce. And the whole idea is to keep you watching more and more. And extremists come online and take advantage of that.
So, Caleb, we're almost out of time. What's your message to other people who, as you say, have fallen down the alt-right rabbit hole? How did you pull yourself out?
New meme, folks.
I pulled myself out because I started getting exposed to other ideas. I basically started to educate myself on the problems and the issues. And I also started to reach out and get emotional support from others. And that is what we're trying to do with my team and I have a bunch of volunteers.
With my team and I. See what I mean? This guy's just he's just milking this whole thing, creating a false narrative and trying to become famous. Just like all those other pathetic little soy boy kids who advocate for some bull crap they don't even understand.
And we basically set up digital platforms to try to de-radicalize young people online. And we're doing that through social intervention and compassion.
By de-radicalize, he means brainwash to the far left.
Based conversations. And it's really to combat, once again, this whole thing of digital hate politics, which leads to radicalization. And this radicalization is a huge public health crisis that we really need to solve.
Good for you, Caleb. Good for you. I will put on Instagram a link to where people can find the help that you've found. Thank you very much for sharing your personal story with us today.
Good for you. Good for you, little NPC. I'm glad you stayed in line. Because if you hadn't, we would have doxed you and destroyed your entire life. We're the left. We're the gods of this world. We own you. We tell you what to believe. We determine the truth. We define the narrative. We We are your only God. This is the newest false narrative. It's absolutely not true. This dude's a blue-pilled little soy boy, and CNN is lying. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about Caleb Cain and this new campaign to suppress everyone who isn't left? Be sure to let me know. Whether you're a liberal, whether you're a conservative, whether you swing really far in either direction. Now, if you want to support the content that I make, you can do so by joining me on Patreon, Subscribestar, or donating via PayPal. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.